the structure, the economy, it can't stay the same. We're moving into a different field. Now, I shouldn't even say field. It's we're moving into a different way humans process information with a magnetic field shift. At the last solar maximum before dropping off into an extreme low of solar activity, the perception of humanity changes. So everything needs to change at the same time. And welcome to this beautiful blue planet, revitalized with energies. A field-aligned current, those different currents, two of them wrapping, creating one. They're both more highly energized right now. Does the world feel a little different? Because I was talking a little bit woo-woo at lunch with a group of people that were hemping a house, putting together the walls, and we were chatting for a minute there over lunch, and it's almost as if we've gone through history, things were given and they were taken away. On purpose, on a cycle, it's just chosen at this time in this place in the world, maybe countries, maybe kingdoms, fiefdoms, whatever they might have been, would have privilege for a time given to it, and then at a certain predetermined time, taken back. Now, we've seen this over the last few years in earnest, very cleanly, this wealth transfer going on. For some reason, it just stopped as of yesterday. I don't know if people were just getting to the point of not having any hope and they already saw the society moving a different direction in the mind. Because I talked about on the 24th of October that we were coming through a special magnetic field anomaly with the four gas giants perceived from our Earth making a square. And now suddenly after this, things seem just a little bit different of intensity, I guess is the best way to put it. Things are spinning, and you've noticed there's been a very stark turn happening right now. Whatever it is, whether it's going to be new power generation sources that are going to be unveiled for us, or what kind of technologies will be released to take us to the next chapter of history. But something definitely turned on a dime right here, technology-wise and government overseership, otherwise known as managing farm earth. The techniques are changing almost instantly. And this is where I wanted to go, but that's what I was saying. Maybe it's a little bit woo to start the hour, but Ransom Godwin joining me. And Ransom, thank you for joining. Love to hear your thoughts tonight. The week seems like an energetic experience for many.
If there was some kind of change in thinking, it seems to be reflecting on what's kind of going on. It seems like, at least for the U.S., we're going to be going in a new direction, hopefully positive. You know, I don't put too much stock into politicians from the get-go, but that being said, there's a lot of promises being thrown around. We'll see how many of those pan out. Just to be fair, judging from last time, you might get 25% of what you think is going to change as far as government dealings. Hopefully that means, you know, some changing situations as far as financially for a lot of people, namely homes opening up. One of the biggest benefits I see to some of the, without getting into detail, some of the plans of the new coming in administration, if that does happen, there's going to be more homes available, which means prices of homes are going to go down.
But wait a second, but Larry Fink won't be getting the rent on the neighborhood. It turns out the key to losing weight and keeping it off is not carbs or fat or even probiotic-rich foods. Nope. The end game of having a healthy weight, as well as more energy and a long, healthy life, comes down to a specific switch which you can flip in your body to flush out unnecessary calories. Dr. Stephen Gundry is calling this caloric bypass. And by activating this specific process in your body, he's seen thousands, yes, thousands of people dramatically improve their health, even at age 50 and beyond. This includes losing weight, getting tons more energy, and returning to the good health that they had in their youth once they simply addressed this one key to better health. Dr. Stephen Gundry has lost 70 pounds himself using this research and has kept the weight off for over 20 years and counting. His digestive issues are gone, his health is fantastic, and he feels younger and healthier today than he did in his 40s. His video has been watched by over 20 million people to date, and you can watch and learn more about it at thehealthyfat.com/adapt. And he'll teach you exactly how he's kept his weight off for free at thehealthyfat.com/adapt. Click on that link in the description box below. And now on with the video.
Well,
you're taking money from Larry Fink's pocket. You can't do that.
BlackRock will be winning no matter who is in the pilot's chair there, so to speak. They're buying up everything, and that's still in the background. It's not just them specifically, but real estate companies, giant companies, real estate of the future game, because they know that it's going to be hard to have private property in the future. And that's just simply, for one, because of the course of time. More and more corporations get their hands on deeds, and it starts leaving families traditional sense of how they give their inherited wealth to the next generation. Part of that being usually somebody in the family would get a home and it would continue to be in private ownership. Not so much now. And, I get daily, probably, I don't know, 3 to 5 offers to mortgage my home so that I could have some money now, or there's other things that sell it and they'll let you stay in it for, a period of time. There's all these deals out there to get you out of your home, but few of them are person-to-person home sales. That's still the way to go, person-to-person. In that way, I think a lot of stuff is about to open up because we have a lot of extra people that might be moving soon. But I wouldn't count on it. I don't see how they're going to do what they're talking about. That's one thing that we can know as a people is the banks are still in control. There might be some executive branch changes that reside within that power. The people that actually can finance, trigger, and decide about wars, they're not going anywhere. They're still in places that they were for the last 4 years and the last 8 years and the last 16 years. They're not going anywhere. We, the people, supposedly get this illusion of deciding that we're not going to do that. But even if you have a peacetime president, right?
The illusion. I love it. It is an illusion. It is. It's truly an illusion.
Say you had the perfect guy in there and he was a peacetime guy. You could pick anybody. It's not really up to him. If somebody supposedly attacks us in the theater of war, that person would have to respond. That's just how they've always done it. So I don't know. We'll see what happens So it's like this constant battle of stability. Will we increase in jobs, and will the housing market really open up?
Yeah, and I was going to take it back to 1830 myself, because I am wondering, just to walk through me, everybody, mind experiment here, just talking. So let's say 1830 and you're out in the Wild West and you're actually moving westward and you're somewhere in Kansas or you're somewhere out like New Mexico, for example, and you're in a smaller town. A lot of cattle towns, etc., and farming towns sprung up. But when something would come in, like a large number of people that were a threat, like the town would get together. So I'm wondering what happened with the win here, because law and order's coming back, because it was such a huge win, not a little bit, just like gigantically huge. The pendulum swung. So with that thought in mind that it's going to be law and order back in, would people start to stand up to all these hoodlums of the actual real regular people that are like, we are so tired of all this happening. This is BS, has been for years, but we're calling it out now. The whole neighborhood's going to make you all stop. Something else is coming back in to try to restore whatever was common sense. I'm going to leave it at the door there. Just like live and just, you don't bother me, I won't bother you, and common sense. That world needs to come back. And it's so sad to say that. That should be the base construct of just reality itself, of where it builds from there. But you have to explain it and wind it back to that base level. So if the foundation's been shaken off and you got to bring the foundation back in for the house before you can build it back out. Think about 1830. Are people going to defend their towns and be like, you know what, you cattle rustlers need to go elsewhere, kind of thing? Just curious.
And, another shift in thinking is, here's this nice article, shift gears a little bit from the dirty water and food. This is on Zero Hedge. TV exec, the mainstream media is dead in its current form. And I want to tell you my experience on election night because
Yeah, me
I
too. I want to tell you mine.
I
Not
had
now, but you go first.
I had all the feeds open. So I had all the internet feeds. I had, everybody from the far left to the far right open on my browser tab. I had the TV going, flipping through the channels as well. And all night, I noticed that all the networks, including, some of the more supposedly alternative right networks, were all sticking to the same exact progress of things. But there's a new company called News Nation that is on the WB if you have antenna, and it's starting to be big on the internet. News Nation. 2 hours before everyone else, they were changing the electoral vote numbers. So they hit, was it 270? And it took everyone else that admitted it on the same night, which was only, I think, Fox and one other channel. They took 2 hours after them to admit it. We're not calling it, and we don't know. So I went to sleep, and I woke up, the BBC was still talking about that they hadn't called it. And I think what the trip is with this new news source, everybody's lost faith in the other ones. No one can argue that they were at least 2.5 hours ahead of everybody calling the race with the real electoral vote numbers. And they were very confident. I was watching in real time the night of the election where all of the mainstream media people were right in front of everyone for everyone to watch. I would watch out for rebranding and keep track of the same people that worked at other places because everybody's about to readjust. There's a whole shift happening.
Things are going to change, and it's going to be different now. Just like that. That was the message. It's going to be different now, directly that way. And you know what also is going to be different is social media to campaign. You hit the nail on the head on a couple issues there. Like what we saw, this clunky old, sit down on NBC for an edited interview kind of thing, and it would come out a week later. That doesn't fly anymore. Because everything was won on giant social media podcast live channels like Civilization Cycle here, trying to bring you as we work with the tech to get our cameras live so we can have people sit with us and have those same conversations or have them face to face. You can see us talking and actually looking at the material and discussing it. That's where the new world of campaign will be from now on. There's no denying it anymore. There was such a huge shift in the long time content to be able to get to know somebody. And that was the whole thing, was these podcasts were geared to get to know the person. A 10.0 earthquake just came through the whole media space. But the social media space, boom, you could talk to who you want to anytime and everybody can be on and you see the person who for they are. And I wanted to respond also. I was watching the Bloomberg feed and you said you were watching BBC. And also I was tuned into Timcast, where we went up to Tim Pool's studio, and thank you, Tim, for, again, allowing us to come up and give our views on why we think extremes on the planet in terms of society are happening right now, along with food pricing. So I was jumping between like Timcast and Patrick Bet David, those two predominantly. But then I was jumping off, too, onto the Young Turks, and there was a whole bunch of lives going on at the same time. So I was just jumping between them. And wherever I landed to see, and I can't even remember, there were so many, but I would refocus back pretty much on the PBD podcast and Timcast. But here was the thing, and then I also was on Fox News on the broadcast. They only had 21,000 people watching live on the Fox broadcast. Like, for example, Patrick Bet David and Timcast both had over 200,000 continuously. And I remember even one time seeing the PBD up at like 260,000 people watching. But like Fox News on an election night could only garner 21,000 people. That's 10 times less than an individual podcast that's out there. You see, the entire media space has changed. It's completely changed. We saw a fracturing of what was for an old world. Because when I was having lunch today, I was discussing the same thing with people around the table. They were building a hemp house, so I got invited up because they were mixing today, putting the lime in, and getting the walls tamped down. So I went up to do some video, ask a bunch of questions. Really cool people, man. Very knowledgeable, super good energy, just like very solid crew, and awesome to be up there today. Like really super grateful. And we were talking about some of these things also in history, like you get the demarcation point where something, instantly you stepped into a new world. We've had that through history many a time where one thing changes and then instantly another arises. You just saw something go in almost instant time that it was, for a better term, broke the hologram with how quickly it morphed and how all-encompassing the morph is and was in that instant pivot. Like it sent a shockwave through the ether of what was like a solid foundation just got cracked everywhere. I kid you not. The gargantuan, earth-shattering understanding of how social media is now the space to do anything. Now all the politicians and all these people that are looking and all these lobbyists are going, hey, we can get you on social media. And everybody suddenly pivoted and saw, wow, that social media thing worked. So whatever it was of the old world is now not there any longer. No, thank you. We're done with that. Done. And I'm saying the same thing with the green movement is done-ish. I've got to put a hyphen there, ish, because the wealth transfer that's gone on under that guise, a lot of that, so we say, milking of that genre, that's going to cease. But the real projects that are in there that can bring forth different energy production systems, devices, Earth's magnetic field power generation devices, more efficient solar that really does work where you don't have to repair it. It's durable. If it's hit by hail, it doesn't break. It has like a 100-year usage on it, not 20, not 10, 100-year usage on it. You got to be incredible efficiency and unbreakable and a 100-year guarantee on it. Right. And that's where you need to move to with this stuff. Not like, oh, a pea-sized hail fell on it and we have to replace the whole panel. Sorry, we can't recycle the silver out of it because the tech's not good enough to recycle and claim back not even near 100% of silver out of a solar panel. Impossible. So there's always losses in the solar panels of silver. Like you're never getting it back. I guess eventually if the tech catches up one day where it's cheap enough to go find all these broken solar panels and throw them through their processing. And I think, again, the whole world was feeling the same thing. Not just here. It's a shift of an age. The sun's magnetic field is changing, and obviously we're coming into and have, I think, already gone through solar maximum or at that point right now. So I was going somewhere with that, Ransom, and you know me, man, I ramble sometimes, so take it back, please. Get this microphone away from me.
You know that you were talking about how social media, I'm going to say 10 years now, has been in a fight with mainstream media about who can report what, when, and what they say. And it seems like, there's certain places that realize that battle is over. And now you have only social media. And now they're starting to put laws where the youngest of people will no longer be able to access that. They were basically saying that people 16 and under cannot access the social media networks anymore. But I think the root reason is because they don't want young people who are about to get into the system to learn certain things early in their life. Going back to when we were kids, some things you just had to figure out when you became an adult, and you figured out some things that you were taught were kind of BS, or that's not actually how it works, or they just left out part of the story, or whoever you were around, or which books you read first. Now it's different because now you can instantly look at both sides of something. Whenever you see a news report, you can go find out who the original poster is, the original person is, and verify in fact within seconds, or even faster than any of these networks that work for the different media companies. And I wanted to show you guys this article. I know a lot of the audience probably has heard my short story, The Idiot Code, which is about people depending on the internet so much that they just kind of rename it Ultimate Guide of Data there. And now we're seeing that churches, and I joke with you not, churches and other people are now moving over to AI. So AI will now literally be the priests and the source of millions for spirituality. And one thing that's not disappearing, no matter how you voted, is the shift of AI to control everything. I don't know if you guys noticed, but when you go to Google, with either your phone, whether it's an Android, Apple, or you're using a PC, guess what comes up on all your searches now? An AI overview of what you're looking for. And like I just wrote that story, and they're already doing kind of part of what was in the story as far as turning over your spirituality and your answers for the universe totally to the artificial.
And ransom seemed to have dropped off right there. And, you know, some things, this is the whole thing that you hit on there, too. The agenda moves forward while you're distracted with all these things. It seems that it's a transfer. It doesn't matter if you're going to stop central bank digital currencies or try to. That's the whole way the world's moving forward. And now you got the BRICS and the BRICS Pay running, two independent payment systems for cross-border payment. And you got gold-backed currencies evolving, silver-backed currencies evolving. Like the movement of this new world that we're being directed to, we're being put through like a thought funnel. This whole change of the world literally continues in earnest the direction it's going, just as much as like running electrical lines through an area in 1910 and 1920 in the mountains. People didn't want that either. Just did not want the electric lines going through here. Even if you didn't, the electrification of the planet continued, and it's the same thing. I don't know what it is about everything needs to go digital so quickly and suddenly, except maybe the vibration frequency of the sun itself, and we as the earth matching that creates a different state of how we process information. So the governance structure of the planet needs to change as the frequency of the sun is changing also, which would affect our magnetic field. And the magnetic field is the hemispheres of your brain that are electrically connected. If that magnetic field state changes, it can change people's feelings. Now the whole entire system is changing, our sun and the earth. So what happens? The structure of the economy, it can't stay the same. We're moving into a different field. Now, I shouldn't even say field. It's we're moving into a different way humans process information, because the energy in the magnetic field that allows their brains to move and grasp and interact with this reality, that magnetic field is going to make that interaction different levels that were not previously there before. And then suddenly the way you perceive reality is different. So imagine global governance structure needs to change that matching magnetic field pattern. So as we see these rapid, almost like kick you off the side of a cliff kind of moves and pushes to get everybody over the goal line over there, they're on a timeline, celestial timeline.
I think they're going to give us some theater of war entertainment here. And then, you know, a lot of people are talking about the Chinese Navy there appearing to gear up to invade someone somewhere. We have no idea who, though, you know.
Yeah, and again, I'm wondering, will that put that off for a couple of years, too? Taiwanese are very, very, very saying that nothing's going to happen, man. Nothing. Never happened. Never going to happen. It's all a charade. From outside into there, you're like, well, it's not a charade. Or is it? Because everybody benefits from it. It won't be the second Midway Island battle, which they tried it in the news. It'll be from Tinian Island. Because I did a video on this probably 5-6 months ago. Tinian Island, they're clearing off the runway there because that's where the Enola Gay launched from. So the old runways from World War II are still there. So they're clearing them off. And imagine being those people that lived on the end of the island. Had nobody been there since 1945, 1946, and now they're coming back on, it's American territory. We need to be able to clear off, and they are starting to get the runways all clear again to run. So I would say this time it would not be Midway, but it would be Tinian Island, close enough. They're both in the Pacific, but you know what I mean? It's going to be something like that. And also, please remember civilizationcycle.com. Put your name in the email, and we'll get you the show notes. I'm telling you, there's a discernible feeling of difference in the extremes in the storms are just off the hook. Everything's once in a 1,000-year event happening now, all the time. Once in 500-year, once in a 1,000-year event. That's the baseline now. In addition to all these things we're seeing with the economy and all of that, and just all these changes, people in their minds, a lot of people talking about not being able to sleep, over-energized, things in their head. Oh, they feel like they're over-energized, like you got too much energy in the air around Well, it is, because the Earth's atmosphere has been over-energized from continuous X flare after X flare after X flare. By the way, there's another 2.3 X flare Earth placing that just popped off today, and that'll continue. Like, vibrational quickness to it. If you put a cymatic, if you had a black plate and you put white salt on it and you put a frequency below that, now that's slightly changing, and you can see the visual shape changing at the same time the harmonic is changing, and that's where we sit today, everything changing in our solar system. You're at that point where it moves from a star shape into an eight-pointed star. Like, you can see the shift, and you can see it change. We're there. We are absolutely there. There's this phase state change occurring right now. What kind of mind game was played during this time also of society as itself being used as the tool for the mind game? Not an individual country, but a system being changed. And then you start to overlay it with, we're right here at the solar maximum period right now. Coincidental, they're matching up. Just curious. This thing is the undercurrent of it all for the future of the system. As we were alluding that it was going to continue to move forward regardless of who's in power, these just general societal shifts that have a plan to them for the whole world literally to move, is moving again here. You come down into tokenizing assets. So this fractionalized world, this fractionalized place, the speediness of money that shall increase. So if there's a bank bail-in, the value of your house and your car and everything that you have that has a note against it, that you borrowed money or on a loan to pay for it, house, car, boat, whatever it is, doesn't matter, watch, they're going to bail that in and they're going to own it, and then they can assign a value to it of like $1 million, and then they can sell that to an investor. And then that investor can claim it and say, all right, great, I want to hold it as an investment, or they own it. They own the deeds, everything, because it's a smart contract that is, the value of it is tied to the ownership of that asset, your house, your car, your land. Each one of those has a value on it that could be bought and sold for a price. That's all wrapped into this one contract in itself. And this is what they would do. Now, not just your farm or your place, but bundle 1,000 of those together or 10,000 of those together. Instead of it being $1 million or 10 million, it's suddenly 10 billion. And then, another oligarch from somewhere might buy that bundled, or just a regular bank that's investing buys that bundled mortgage. And if somebody has the time to go through and unwind those layers to see what they own as the assets in there, they can claim those. Like a company overseas can go, well, we bought all these properties and David's property was included in that bundle. And even though I'm still living here, they could come by and go, no, we own this thing. See, you're on the smart contract, ironclad. You got bailed in, and we bought that fractionalized asset package from BlackRock, and we own all the property here, and we're going to claim it right now because between your neighbors and yours and yours and yours, there's 180 acres out here. Plus, we got and we can make a big farm field, and we can farm 200 acres of grain right here, but y'all's house is in the way, and we own them anyway, so you're out of here. That's the world that this is moving to in terms of fractionalization. Now, after the bank bail-ins occur, because this all works on the system changing, and everybody's heard about central bank digital currencies, and we're all looking at the meetings in Kazan just last month that had really, they put out a business plan for the best term for what they wanted to do for trade payments through the BRICS nations, and having a gold backing and announcing silver also as a bimetallic or even trimetallic, as I've said, I'm just regurgitating, trimetallic system of also platinum or palladium inside that mix. That's the basic currency, like 40%. And the rest of it is trading, or they try to trade amongst themselves. It's making a dent in the global trade of dollars, not by 1/1000th of a percent, but by actual multiple measurable percentages declining. It's always been a little bit declining, but over the last, say, 12, 15 years, it's really started to drop off. Like you could see the trend way before BRICS had aligned itself. You could, if you were looking in the future and know this was going to be a planned time of change with a magnetic field shift at the last solar maximum before dropping off into an extreme low of solar activity, the perception of humanity changes. So everything needs to change at the same time. And it's going to be problems growing enough food during this transition too. So the complexities start to get kind of spread out a bit. But it's all going to come down to where's this new world moving to with money? Because it's all happening right now, and you can't tell me all the change for everything that we know is all changing simultaneously right now. All of it at the same time that's too much for me to believe it's not forced. And then why now? But, this whole thing of where this system is moving to is you really don't own anything. It's all going to be on a ledger.
And this episode's brought to you by TrueLeafMarket.com. Full range of garden seeds, microgreen seeds, sprouting seeds, wheatgrass, grain seeds, flower seeds, herb seeds. Use the link below and give yourself the gift of organic and heirloom seeds.